In June last year, a computer virus called Stuxnet was discovered lurking in the databanks of power plants, traffic control systems and factories around the world. 20 times more complex than any previous virus code, it had an array of capabilities. Among them, the ability to turn up the pressure inside nuclear reactors or switch off oil pipelines, and Stuxnet could tell the system operators everything was normal. Unlike most viruses, Stuxnet doesn't carry the usual forged security clearance that helps viruses burrow into systems. It actually had a real clearance, stolen from one of the most reputable computer technology companies in the world. It exploited security gaps that system creators are unaware of. These holes are known as zero days, and the most successful viruses exploit them. The details of a zero day can be sold on the black market for $100,000. Stuxnet took advantage of 20 zero days. But once it got into a system, it didn't always activate. Buried deep in the Stuxnet code was a specific target. Without that target, the virus remained dormant. What was it looking to shut down? The centrifuges that spin nuclear material at Iran's enrichment facilities. Stuxnet was a weapon. The first to be made entirely out of code. The Washington-based Institute for Science and International Security says the virus may have shut down 1,000 centrifuges at Natanz, Iran's main enrichment facility, last year. In November, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, said Iran had suspended work at its nuclear facilities without explaining why. Many observers credited Stuxnet. Last month, the Iranian government conceded the virus's infection of the Bashir nuclear facility, still under construction, meant that switching the plant on could lead to a national electricity blackout. Iran has responded to the attack with an open call for hackers to join the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and has reportedly amassed the second largest online army in the world. So who was behind Stuxnet? There's no evidence beyond rumor. Some have it that Israel is responsible because the virus code apparently contains references to the Hebrew Bible. Others believe the US was involved in the testing and development. The finger has even been pointed at Siemens mobile phone company, whose software is used by the Iranian regime. The most important question may not be who designed it, but who will redesign it. The evolution has been so fast that 9 months after its detection, the first virus that could crash power grids or destroy oil pipelines is available online for anyone to download and tinker with. You can watch people on YouTube pulling Stuxnet apart. It's an open source weapon. And there's no way of knowing who will use it or what they will use it for.
I wrote that because there's a bunch of articles that have come out. It started with Rec 34, and it's turned into a bunch of manuals and a bunch of executive orders that put in place martial law. And the military likes to perform war games, so that's why we're seeing military on the streets practicing. They are actually practicing. The tanks that we see on the streets and the National Guard patrolling neighborhoods and the practices that they're doing with our local police departments, this is all in preparation for martial law, so that when they do actually lock down the country, they've got everything secured.
People that don't run in these circles and to whom this information is new, Suzanne, they love to say that we're all conspiracy tinfoil hat wearing nuts because we still live in a republic. But I think what we're starting to see, for anybody who is objective at all, is we're seeing a totalitarian system now unveil itself. And ever since essentially 9/11 happened, it's been more and more of these draconian measures that are leading us right down the road to martial law. What do you think will be the cause of the declaration of martial law? Will it be a financial collapse or something altogether different? We've seen a lot of false flags. What do you think would be the cause of martial law?
Well, I had written an article earlier this week from a U.S. Marine informant and also a Deutsche Bank informant. And In 2008, we should have collapsed. We should have gone the way of Greece. The only reason why we didn't was because the global elite and the banking cartels put it off on the Eurozone and collapsed the Eurozone in order to gain sovereign debt. Sovereign debt is when you actually own the physical land. You don't just own the buildings, you don't just own the people and the money. They're extracting wealth so that the only thing that the governments will have left to give them is the actual land that they own. While they're doing this, they're amassing this wealth in order to redirect it toward martial law endeavor, and not just in America, but globally. They want to lock down every country and force us into global governance, eventually force us into a global reserve currency that is like the Bancorp that the IMF has been pushing. So in 2008, when Hank Paulson went to the Congress and said that they had to bail out the banks for $700 billion or martial law would be declared, they weren't lying. What they did with the mortgage-backed security scheme was they sold it to countries like China. And when China realized that they had been taken and that they weren't going to get their money, they said, well, we don't mind, we'll just take the property, because it says here in our contract that if you can't pay us the money, we can get the property. And the central bankers freaked out. They couldn't have the Chinese on our land. You know, it would be like you wake up in the morning to go to get your newspaper, and you open your front door, and there's some Chinese people standing on your front lawn because they own your house and your property, and you don't realize it yet that you've been foreclosed on. So in order to stop that, they demanded from the Congress that they give them the $700 billion bailout, and the Congress passed it. The first paper it was like 15 pages, and the next one was over 1,000 pages long, and they went ahead and passed that, and they gave this money to the Chinese. But the Chinese since then have been backing their currency, their fiat currency, in gold. And China's been doing this, India's been doing this, and Russia's been doing this. If you go back in history, the reason why we went after Gaddafi was because he was presenting the dinar, which was a gold-backed currency that he was getting together with other countries like in Africa. He was going to subvert the global reserve currency, which is the U.S. dollar, and destroy its complete value by backing it with gold, because the central bankers haven't dealt in gold since 1934. So in order to avoid all of this, the central bankers are going after Iran right now, and that's what this war is about, to try and stop India and China and Russia from buying Iranian oil with gold. Because if they destroy the global reserve currency, which is the U.S. dollar, then what we're going to have is we're going to wake up one morning and we're going to be like Greece. And that's going to cause complete panic in this country. So since they already set off the financial time bomb in the Eurozone, they know that it's just a matter of time before it hits our shores. So they're preparing for it. That's why we see all the movement on the streets. People are seeing tanks being moved in Burbank, California. They're seeing, in their forested areas, they're seeing police, military, escorting them off the property. National forested lands. This is public land, supposedly. By the way, it's owned by UNESCO, and it's a World Heritage Site, so it's actually owned by the UN. But anyway, people are seeing military on their streets. In Anaheim, California, they announced that because of the protest, it was a state of emergency, which I feel is a code word for martial law. I think they're trying to beta test to see if they can go ahead and lock down the country by doing it incrementally through different stages, causing problems, problem, reaction, solution, causing problems in cities, and then go ahead and locking it down and seeing how it works, kind of like a war game. One thing I forgot to mention was through the Deutsche Bank informant, I was alerted to the idea that they're going to possibly create like an internet virus that would attack the banking system, like they're using Flame and Stuxnet. And there's a new cousin of these two that is going around Iran. Mm-hmm. And what they would do was, on a Friday afternoon, they would say, well, we have to shut down the banking system because there's a virus in all the banks. You won't be able to use your ATMs over the weekend, but on Monday morning you'll be fine. Well, if you hear of anything like that, You have 72 hours before they roll out martial law.
It started here, spread to here, then here, and here. Cyber criminals targeted the rich in Europe and then moved on to North and South America, siphoning off millions from corporate bank accounts. Experts say they've never seen a bank raid as big or as sophisticated.
This attack, we believe, is still continuing. It's access to the log files that gives us the information that we're looking for. So we are forensically detecting as we speak.
Criminals injected malware known as Zeus and SpyEye into the bank's own servers. They were then programmed to automatically harvest big balances for relatively low amounts of money, which were transferred to the so-called mule accounts run by crooks.
Rather than an individual targeting another individual, this is a system of machines targeting a large number of individuals and doing it very efficiently. And that's why this is a step up in the cybercrime that we're seeing.
So far, £48 million has been stolen. That figure comes from the analysis of one of 60 rogue servers. The attacks are continuing, and it's estimated could result in a loss of £1.6 billion. To avoid detection, the servers switch fast. In one instance, automatic theft systems shifted from Russia to Arizona to Brazil, California, and then Ohio. And it seems cyber crooks have turned international banks into the world's biggest cash point. Sam Kiley, Sky News.
When they're going to roll out martial law, they think that when the financial collapse hits the shores of the United States, they have 72 hours. So with my Deutsche Bank informant and talks with other people in the alternative media, my contacts, I just think that it's possible that a scenario like this, I'm not saying that this will happen, but a scenario like this, and it would give you something to look for, a little red flag to look for. Let's say that the banks all say that there's a virus in all the banking systems, all of the banks, and they have to shut down, like on a Friday. We know that the Obama administration loves to do things on a Friday afternoon or when we're celebrating New Year's Eve. So Friday afternoon, they would say they're going to shut down the banks and get rid of this virus over the weekend. And on Monday morning, everything would be back up. Over the weekend, you wouldn't be able to use your ATM or pay any bills online. But everything will be fine on Monday morning. That is your red flag. You have 72 hours from that moment to do whatever you were planning on doing. Get to wherever you were planning on getting to. Hunker down whatever you were planning on hunkering down. Because they're going to unroll martial law in 72 hours from that moment. Whatever scenario they intend to unroll. And I believe that it has to do with the bank.
One of the things says to expect it when you least expect it, and this is something I didn't publish. This guy, I believe this guy, I've known this guy for a quarter century. Look, he's given me a lot of information in the past, and he said these people are very serious. These people want. I mean, look, it's going. This is right now the start of what could very well be a dramatic change in America itself. And
well, the globalists are running around like it's the end of the world, digging in everywhere, arming themselves, and they know they've got to get this collectivized New World Order in. But, I mean, Romney's not much different than Obama. I don't know why they're breaking news as well. I mean, the word I get is that police and military and even feds, even though they tried to pick bad people, are just totally freaking out right now because everything that the conspiracy theorists talked about is coming true.
My sources told me we are at the point now where there has been a commitment given by whether it's Valerie Jarrett or someone else close to Obama. Perhaps Obama doesn't even know about this or has a suspicion, but he's not in on necessarily the integral planning of this. But that final go-ahead has been given, and certain conditions have to exist or should exist before whatever it is.
Well, there it is. From your source, there's the headline. Globalists to stage false flag for Obama, or false flag trigger to be pulled for Obama. I mean, you think that's an accurate headline?
I do. Very much so. Yes, I do.